My ex-fiancé, Julian, used to tell me that family was a collective ecosystem. If one person succeeded, everyone succeeded. It sounded beautiful when we were sitting in my cramped apartment 3 years ago, eating cheap instant ramen while I pulled 80-hour work weeks coding my proprietary supply chain logistics software. At the time, Julian was working a standard entry-level desk job, and his family treated me like an invisible ghost. His mother, Eleanor, barely acknowledged my existence at Sunday dinners, and his younger brother, Christian, openly laughed when I said I was building a tech company from scratch. To them, I was just a stressed-out girl with no pedigree, wasting her 20s on computer games. Then the breakthrough happened. After years of brutal grinding, isolation, and running on pure caffeine, my software platform was acquired by a major tech conglomerate. The contract was signed, the intellectual property was transferred, and my bank account lit up with an upfront payout of $4.7 million, with an additional performance-based milestone bonus locked into an escrow account. The moment the news hit our local business journal, the entire dynamic of Julienne's family shifted overnight. Suddenly, I wasn't an invisible ghost anymore. I was our brilliant girl. Eleanor started calling me 3 times a week, inviting me to high-end day spas and calling me the daughter she never had. Christian, who hadn't spoken a single word to me in 2 years, suddenly started tagging me in social media posts, bragging about his genius future sister-in-law. Julian was ecstatic, but his excitement felt different. He immediately quit his job without even consulting me, claiming that since we were a team, he needed to manage my brand and lifestyle logistics. I loved him, so I let it slide. I bought us a beautiful 3-bedroom penthouse downtown, fully paid for under my corporate LLC, and gave Julian an authorized business credit card for our shared living expenses. That was my first mistake. 2 months after the acquisition, Eleanor insisted on hosting a celebration dinner at the most exclusive high-end steakhouse in the city. When we arrived, the entire family was already seated in a private dining room. Christian was there, wearing a brand new, ostentatious designer suit that still had the plastic scent of a luxury boutique. The dinner was lavish, expensive, and filled with endless toasts to my success. But the atmosphere felt heavy, like a trap being meticulously laid out. As soon as the main course dishes were cleared, Eleanor tapped her crystal wine glass with a diamond-ringed finger. The room went dead silent. She smiled at me. That terrifyingly sharp, practiced society smile, and opened a sleek leather portfolio. "Now, Olivia, dear," Eleanor began, her voice dripping with artificial sweetness. "We need to talk about the family portfolio. As you know, our sweet Christian has always had the soul of an entrepreneur. He has discovered an absolutely magnificent opportunity to launch a luxury lifestyle and streetwear brand. It is destined to go viral. But as you know, banking institutions are so terribly rigid these days with initial funding." I set my wine glass down, a cold knot forming in my stomach. "Okay, what does that have to do with me?" Christian leaned forward, his eyes gleaming with sheer greed. "We need an angel investor, Olivia. We calculated the initial seed stage, manufacturer sourcing, influencer marketing campaigns, and a brick-and-mortar flagship lease. We just need a minor, interest-free injection of $850,000. Since you're marrying Julian in October, you're officially a guardian of the family legacy. It's only right that we pool our resources." I stared at him, genuinely stunned. $850,000? For a streetwear brand with no market testing, no prototypes, and no business plan. Christian, that is an astronomical amount of money for a high-risk venture. I'm not comfortable liquidating my investments for that. The temperature in the private room plummeted instantly. Eleanor's fake smile completely vanished, replaced by a cold, aristocratic glare. "Olivia, let's not be tight-fisted. You have millions sitting idle in a bank account. It is incredibly selfish to hoard that wealth when your future brother is struggling to launch his dream. Julian, speak to your woman. Explain to her how our family operates." I looked at Julian, expecting him to defend me. Instead, he reached across the table, grabbed my hand tightly, and squeezed it in a way that felt less like comfort and more like a warning. "Babe," Julian whispered, his voice smooth but firm, "don't make a scene here. My mom is right. We have more money than we know what to do with. Christian is family. Just sign the intent form tonight so we can celebrate properly. Don't be so obsessed with numbers. It's just money." I refused to sign anything that night. I stood up, walked out of the restaurant, took a rideshare back to my penthouse, and spent the night sleeping in the guest room. The next morning, Julian apologized profusely, claiming his family just got overly enthusiastic and that he had managed to calm them down. I wanted to believe him. I wanted to think the nightmare was over. I was completely wrong. 3 weeks later, I received an automated email alert from my private banking portal. It was a standard notification confirming a multi-stage wire transfer authorization. My breath hitched. I logged into my corporate treasury account and discovered that $300,000 had already been moved into an unknown business account titled Bora Dynamics LLC. An additional $550,000 was currently flagged as a pending verified transfer scheduled to clear within 48 hours. My hands began to shake violently. I pulled out my phone and dialed my dedicated private banking representative. When he answered, my voice was completely flat. "Jonathan, I need you to explain a wire transfer on my primary corporate account immediately." Jonathan sounded completely bewildered. "Oh, Ms. Vance, good morning. Yes, we processed the initial tier of the corporate restructuring fund that your chief financial partner authorized yesterday afternoon. He provided the necessary documentation." "What partner?" I choked out, the room literally starting to spin. "Your fiancé, Julian," Jonathan replied smoothly. "He called from your registered primary device, answered all standard multi-factor verification questions, and uploaded a scanned corporate resolution document granting him secondary signing authority, stamped with your digital corporate seal. He stated you were currently in closed-door development meetings and needed the funds expedited for a time-sensitive real estate acquisition. Julian had gone into my home office. He had found the physical safe where I kept my backup hardware authentication keys. He had copied my digital signature seal from my local hard drive, forged a corporate authorization document, and used his knowledge of my personal history to bypass the bank's security protocols. He had literally stolen nearly $1 million of my hard-earned capital to fund his brother's delusional vanity project. Right at that exact moment, the heavy oak front door of the penthouse clicked open. Julian walked in, humming a cheerful tune, carrying a large shopping bag from an upscale designer boutique. He looked at me sitting at the kitchen island, saw my deathly pale face, and his smile faltered for a fraction of a second before he smoothed it over with a casual, arrogant shrug. I turned my laptop screen around, showing the banking audit trail. "Did you do this?" I asked, my voice quiet. Julian didn't even flinch. He didn't panic, stutter, or apologize. Instead, he tossed his shopping bag onto my marble countertop, walked over to the espresso machine, and started making a coffee. "Oh, come on, Olivia," he said, smirking over his shoulder. "Are you really going to throw a tantrum over this?" "Yes." I authorized the transfer. Christian found the perfect flagship location downtown, and the landlord needed the deposit immediately, or the deal was gone. My mom was literally having panic attacks over the stress. I am the man of this relationship, and it is my job to make the executive calls when you get too paralyzed by risk. We are a team, remember? You'll make that money back on your next software license renewal anyway. Stop being so incredibly greedy. I stared at him, absolutely mesmerized by the sheer, unadulterated delusion radiating from his body. The rose-tinted glasses didn't just fall off, and they shattered into microscopic dust. I realized with absolute horrifying clarity that I wasn't looking at a partner. I was looking at a financial parasite who felt completely entitled to the fruits of my intellect and labor. "Get out," I said. Julian laughed, taking a sip of his espresso. Babe, calm down. You're overreacting because of your high-stress tech job. I'm not going anywhere. This is our home." "This penthouse belongs entirely to my primary LLC," I replied, standing up and looking him dead in the eye. "Your name is not on the deed, the lease, or the corporate registration. You have exactly 20 minutes to pack whatever fits into a suitcase before building security and my corporate legal counsel arrive with a formal trespassing injunction. If you are still standing on my property, you will be arrested." Julian realized I wasn't bluffing when two massive, armed building security guards knocked on the door 10 minutes later. He went completely ballistic, screaming obscenities, throwing a crystal vase against the wall, and calling me a heartless, cold-blooded sociopath. He was forcefully escorted out of the building carrying nothing but a duffel bag and his designer clothes. The moment he was gone, I went to work. I called my private bank's fraud division, flagged the pending $550,000 transfer, and had it permanently canceled. Then I filed a formal corporate fraud report against Julian for the initial $300,000 he had successfully wired, providing the bank with my home office security footage showing him accessing my safe without authorization. Within 48 hours, the bank froze Bora Dynamics LLC's corporate account. because Christian had already spent over $200,000 of that stolen money on a non-refundable commercial lease deposit and luxury inventory. The account went into a massive negative balance. It has been a month since that day. I am currently sitting on a private beach in Bora Bora, enjoying the absolute quiet while checking my corporate analytics. Julian is currently living in his mother's basement, facing active grand larceny and financial forgery charges. Because the stolen funds disappeared, Christian's flagship lease was terminated for default, and he is being sued by the commercial landlord for breach of contract. Their family reputation in the local business community is a smoldering, toxic wasteland. Julian's friends and relatives have been absolutely bombarding my social media accounts, calling me an evil, vindictive monster. They claim that destroying a young man's business, future, and putting my ex-fiancé in legal jeopardy over a simple family loan is pure malice. They say a mature adult would have negotiated a compromise. But as I take a sip of my cocktail and watch the sunset over the ocean, I can't help but smile. They wanted an angel investor. They just forgot that angels can bring the fire too.